Hello everybody, my name is Poison Ducky and this is another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. I'm going to be playing as the Warriors of Chaos versus the Empire. One of the classic matchups other than like Empire and Greenskins or like, I don't know, Bretonnia and some other bad faction. Alright, let's get into our army composition. I have a rather wide-ish army, at least for Chaos. So I'm going to have a front line of just Chaos Warriors. Very powerful. I love them. They're the bread and butter of every army, or at least Chaos army. I would hope so. The Mirror Guard, the original round, they just run faster and they are immune to psychology. So, and they just have a lot better stats. There's really no reason not to get them in terms of cost efficiency, unless you're running some sort of strat that doesn't revolve around infantry with chaos like monsters. I think you should get Mirror Guard. They're just such a fantastic unit. I'm going to have a third unit of Chaos Warriors, so it's going to be a yes, only 3 Chaos Warriors as a front line, but look at like this checkered formation that I've chosen here. So here in the back line, I'm going to have 2 units of Chaos Warriors with halberds. Now these are my anti-large components, with armor piercing as well, just in case like they fight against swords, great swords or something like that. They won't do well, but at least they can fight back. I'm going to have 2 units of Chaos Marauders with great weapons. Now, I'm going to mainly be using these. I'm going to actually pause the game here, as it's moving a little too fast. I'm going to be using these Chaos Marauders as like a flanking unit with armor-piercing values. They have good speed at 35. Strangely enough, slower than the Regiment Renowned Mirror Guard, 38 speed, with guys with 100 armor. Like, man, God, you guys are trash compared to them. But, of course, you're less expensive. So, and in the back, of course, I'm going to have the mighty Chosen with halberds. Now, the mighty, the best halberd infantry in the game, essentially, except maybe the Temple Guard would probably be the only people that can compete with them in terms of anti-large capabilities. 2 Chosen with halberds. So it's like a very symmetrical line. I really like it. So you've got your front line of axe infantry or sword infantry in the case of the Mirror Guard. You have your back line of chaos with halberds just in case they charge with any sort of like steam tanks or, you know, cavalry or some sort of goon squad in the air. And I have my flanking units with my Chaos Marauders with great weapons being able to go around. And then I have my back line just in case like any line goes terribly wrong. The Chosen will jump in and essentially just win because that's what Chosen do. Now, I did have some precautions here just in case they had like a bunch of Outrider calves, so much Skirmisher calves, mobility that I can't deal with. I brought 3 units. 2 Marauder Horsemen, so these are just my normal skirmish cav. They have decent damage, not very high armor piercing, but the main point about this unit is that 90 speed. Very fantastic, can outrun most cav and stay with like a lot of hound units, which is quite amazing. I have, and in the middle of the 2 horsemen, I have the Marauder Horsemasters, which are just as fast, except they have higher missile damage and just higher stats in general. They're essentially like I can compare these guys to like Illyrian Reavers. They like in terms of stats, like, but they have ranged attacks, which is so fantastic, and they're 90 speed. So very, very powerful unit overall, and it's just a must stay in a lot of in a lot of matchups where the enemy comp can easily outspeed you. These are the units that you use to take out their enemy speed or out skirmish their speed. My opponent on the enemy other hand is going to be Empire. Fighting a lot of empires. He's going to have a front line of handgunners as a skirmish line. You're going to be bringing armor-piercing missiles against the chaos. Like, there should be no reason you should not bring handgunners. Like, there's very few cases where you bring coilers, except against maybe like Forsaken or like, I don't know. There's not too many units that have low armor, except like giants. But who uses giants on chaos nowadays, at least? He's going to have a front line of, for his melee infantry, he's going to have front line of flagellants. Now, I actually really dislike this pick, as they have no armor. Their melee attack is high, their melee defense is extremely low, but the problem is, their weapon strength, they have like no armor piercing. Like, this is a good choice. Handgunners, armor piercing projectiles, does a lot of damage, good range, and then he goes around and picks flagellants. I mean, granted, they are a very good holding unit, but they're just not going to fighting any chaos halberds, my normal chaos infantry, chaos warriors, even my marauders will just do so much damage to them. These flagellants are very efficient at killing marauder units, but I only brought 2 units of them. So these flagellants will die very quickly. And he, as the flanks, as like any good player does, he defends his flanks with 2 halberdiers, which is a great play. And on the outer flanks are 2 units of greatswords, just in case I brought like a very heavy infantry line, which I did. Like I like how this player designs his armies. He's got the units of, just in case I bring like Kolek and a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, he has the handgunners and the halberdiers. And just in case I go like heavy chosen, he's got the great swords. And just in case I go with the heavy marauder unit swarm, he has flagellants, I suppose, although not the greatest pick. I would definitely want to go on swordsman, spearman, or more great swords or something like that, and maybe not have taken a great cannon. He did take a great cannon. His general is just going to be the generic general of the Empire. But here is where, oh god, here's where it gets spicy. It's the Witch Hunter, the ever-dreaded Witch Hunter. He's going to try to goon me, and you'll see what happens. And his magic user will be the Mighty Bright Wizard. A very powerful choice, and a very solid army. On the very far flanks and outskirts, he's going to have 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun, one on the left and one all the way over on the right. So he's got just such a very balanced army. I like how this player chooses it makes his army. And let's see if my balanced army can fight his. Although mine's a wee bit more specialized. I mean, chaos. What do you expect? Oh, how could I forget? And I'm going to... my general is going to be the Great Ever Chosen. Or as, like, Heir of Carthage or a bunch of other YouTubers or the community in general is going to call him the Never Chosen. As he's not a very competitive pick, but he just looks so cool. Like, look at this guy. He's a chosen, essentially, unit. On foot, he has the lore of fire. He makes it so that when he's around your units, he has this ability called, where is it? It's a buff. The Crown of Domination. He increases leadership of all units around him and make them immune to psychology. And psychology seemed to be a very big weakness for Chaos. Like if he had the Altdor Griffites or something like that, and he could terror route my units, and so I really like Archaon for that very purpose, to stop the terror routing. But let's get into the battle. As I have very low range capabilities, and I know for a fact I can't fight against the handgunners with my cavalry, I'm just going to charge. It's just a rush. Now over here on the right, I'm going to just outskirmish his Knights of the Blazing Sun. Knights of the Blazing Sun have 71 speed versus the 90 speed of all my Marauders. Like, he just cannot catch. He will never catch them. And I'm just going to whittle them down until they just can't do anything effective. Now, to deal with the left Knights of the Blazing Sun, I will be moving my halberds over. I had 2 halberds, and I'm going to move my halberds just on the flank over here, just so I can be in position to attack them. They may not be braced when they charge, but they're a very effective unit at taking out enemy cav. Now, I'm just going to have my chosen in the back line, of course. Now my Mirror Guard are taking a beating from all this pistol fire. Oh god. Look at all the handgun fire. And cannons while you're at it. They are taking a serious beating. Who would have thought? Now, of course, as any good player should, he moves back his firing line and sends in the Mighty Flagellants. Now, like I said, the Flagellants do not have armor piercing, and he's charging them straight into my Chaos Warriors. Not the greatest matchup. Honestly, a very terrible matchup. So that will be quite easily won by my Chaos Warriors, but what really scares me is not the... it's not that, but it's the great swords. So they're going to be very effective. I'm going to have my chosen with halberds versus the halberdiers. So, like, that's an easy win. And he's going to actually use a Burning Head on my Chaos Marauders at low armor, but here's where I go in. My Burning Head is much more effective, made by Archaon. And there goes all his guns. Well, not all of them, but a very effective use of the Burning Head. Goodbye, gunners. And it actually routs one of them and takes 2 of them to below half and misses the other, but a very effective use of magic. And he uses a Flame Storm, which completely misses my units. Here over here on the left flank, he's actually thinking of using he's trying to find a gap in the army to send his Knights of the Blazing Sun, and I will use my Chaos Marauders to help my Chosen and kill these halberdiers just that much faster. Now, like I said earlier, the big danger is the greatsword, so I'm actually just not going to engage them. I'm going to take a lot of damage from running away from the greatswords, but I would die faster if I just engage them. So I'm just going to run away, keep them at bay, and make sure not to engage them as long as possible. Now, I do have my second line of halberds. He charges in with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and I countercharge him with my halberds, which is extremely effective. And over here, just Marauders versus halberdiers, nothing too special. And my front line of Mirror Guard, after that huge beating, actually just beat out the Flagellants and head into their cannon and disable that fairly quickly. Now way over, where they go? On the flanks, that other unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, he had a little bit of a micro issue here, or macro, I suppose, and he just chased my Marauder Horsemen. Something that you'll never catch, and look how low health they are. Only 1,000 health left and 20 models. That's not enough. So I have 2 Marauder Horsemen dealing with that, and I sent my Marauder Horsemasters, which are very good in actual melee combat, and I'm going to charge these greatswords. I already did, actually. Skirmishing these greatswords, making sure, because greatswords are anti-infantry, not anti-large, so the Marauder Horsemasters will do just fine against the greatswords. And I make like a little hammer and anvil of Chaos Marauders, Chaos Warriors with halberds, and Chaos Horsemasters. So that's a very effective way of taking out the enemy counters to your army. Now the other enemy greatswords ended up fighting my Chosen. And as everyone knows, Chosen are one of the best units in the game, so in a one-on-one fight, sorry, but as you can see, Chosen are winning. Chosen just win. That's what makes them so special. A Flame Store cast by my Archaon, and unfortunately, I wasn't really great at showcasing this, but Archaon actually just died. And why is that? Well, it's the Witch Hunter. The Witch Hunter is essentially a specialist at killing any lord or any single target enemy that's like on foot, or heroes, even large monsters. And it's just, he has this ability called Accusation, which used to do damage, but now just lowers defense and increases the damage you take from range, which the Witch Hunter does. And he just accused Archaon over and over again, and he just gooned him. It's just the ability to take out heroes. Like, I'm finding a lot of players, as I fight online, just focus extremely hard on gooning, or like focusing the enemy lord and try to use that as their convent of winning the match, but he still has an entire chaos army left to deal with. Like, here comes another Burning Head. The Marauder Horsemasters have decent armor at 50, and the Burning Head does very low armor piercing damage, so the Marauder Horsemen come out just fine. I tried to do a juke there, but I reacted a tad bit too slow. And at this point, it's just cleanup. The halberdiers are just, they can't deal with the mighty power of chaos infantry, and my Marauder Horsemen and Horsemasters did so well at just screening out the enemy cavalry and just out skirmishing them. The guns got disrupted really easily by another unit of Marauder Horsemen in the back line. They came around over here, and they charged the enemy handgunners. And with that, that's going to be a win. The only reason we haven't won entirely is because there's this one unit of Flagellants. Flagellants are unbreakable, so they have like unlimited leadership in terms of like game mechanics, so they'll never run away no matter how desperate the fight becomes. And at this point, it's just cleanup. Like, let's see these four. The 4 Flagellants. Let's do this versus the Chaos Hordes. Oh god, this is a terrible sight. Oh, 2 are down from javelins. Oh, there goes one, and what a surprise. Chosen win. Let's look at our efficiency. I deployed 811. My opponent deployed 960. So even though Chaos is known for very like elite armies of small, very compact, powerful units, I did go a little wide, at least for Chaos, 800, mainly because of the Chaos Marauders, Chaos Warriors halberds. It's a wide line of infantry, and the Marauder Horsemen, man, they just do so much work. Archaon did a lot of damage, 87 kills, and did so much damage to those handgunners, reducing their effectiveness very quickly and very early on. Unfortunately, he did get sniped out by the combination of a Witch Hunter and the General of the Empire fighting him at the same time. But at least we came out on top, right? So the flanking of the Chaos Marauders paid off very heavily. 72 and 52 kills. Now these units only cost 500 in the multiplayer. They're not cheap by any standards, but they're very in this matchup they were extremely cost efficient. Only my Chaos Warriors 71 kills, 22, 116. I'm sure. Wonder what happened to the 22. Maybe he fought the Great Swords. There's a possibility that happened. So the 71, like Flagellants, like I told you, no armor piercing, no armor, no melee defense. Chaos Warriors are just going to shred them. 116 kills. And this unit, remember, the Mirror Guard, was shot down to bits by cannons and handgunners and still came out with 116 kills. So, like, it goes to show how powerful Chaos Warriors are versus the low armored units of Empire, especially if you only choose with such low melee defense. My Chaos Warriors with halberds did their jobs, low kills, but what their main job was to deal with the Knights of the Blazing Sun. I believe the one on the left was the one that dealt with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, and the one on the right, the Chaos Warriors that only got 5 kills, was the one that was being chased by Great Swords. And while they did lose all their numbers, taking out a unit of Great Swords, which essentially kills all my units except Chosen in a 1-in-1 fight, very valuable. Sorry. And of course, the Chosen doing the job, 71, 91 kills, and look how much damage they took. Chosen are just... every time I use Chosen, I'm just so happy because they just kill everything. You know in Halo, where like that scene where it says, tank beats everything? Yeah, when I use Chosen, I just think, Chosen beats everything. Except like handgunners and catapults and really large spells that deal a lot of damage, like Fate of Buna. But you get the point. And my horsemen did great. 108 kills. This is the one that scared off the enemy gunners in the back flank. This is the horsemasters that assisted in killing the Great Swords in a rear charge. And the other horsemaster that was chased the entire game by a unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun, still coming out with 42 kills. So I think that was a great, efficient play, great gameplay, and that's why I want to showcase on YouTube. Now the opponent, let's see here, 33 Bright Wizard. Yeah, fire damage did a lot to my Chaos Marauders, but it just wasn't like low armor piercing damage. None of my units except the Horsemen and the Marauders would have been hurt by the Burning Heads and stuff like that. Witch Hunter did so much damage, 53 kills. That's, jeez, Witch Hunters, man, they just get on my nerves. I really dislike fighting gooning kind of compositions. I know it's a part of the game, but it just feels bad, man. The Halberdiers did well, 75 kills. That was mainly against my Chaos Marauders, as it was like a one-on-one fight. This one did poorly. Great Swords got shut down early, only 14 and 47 kills because I knew they were a high-priority target. Handgunners did decently, mainly against my Mirror Guard. And the Knights of the Blazing Sun shut down, and the Cannon 61 kills. Interestingly, the Cannon, Cannon did its job. So Cannon paid for itself, Halberdiers paid for itself, and the Witch Hunters paid for themselves. Everything else, yeah. And that's why I won. Well, thank you for watching the video, and I hope you liked it. If you liked it, leave a like, and if you want more, subscribe. Well, I'll catch you guys later.